Welcome to Talking Politics. I am Paul Gable. I'm here with my co-host and friend John Bond Sr., and today we're welcoming Horry County, 15th Circuit Solicitor Jimmy Richardson, who's going to talk to us a bit about some of the initiatives that he has going on in his department. We'll be back in a second to talk with the solicitor.
Blueberry's Grill is serving a fresh breakfast and lunch daily with locally sourced ingredients. Give your taste buds a treat with our unique twists on your favorite classic foods, like our daily specials or our appetizing omelets, biscuits and gravy with fresh sausage, or our unique sandwiches and burgers. Tour the kitchen where the passion and creativity begins and discover the secret of the delicious ingredients and flawless preparation. Blueberry's Grill, located at 7931 North Kings Highway. Come as a stranger, leave as a friend.
Solicitor, I was stationed in Scotland when I was in the Navy, and over there you would be the Procurator Fiscal, which I think is a grand title. But you tell us a bit about what's going on in the solicitor's office these days.
Well, first of all, thank you and John for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to come in and talk to you about some of the things that we're dealing with. It's the same sort of stuff that everybody in Horry and Georgetown are dealing with, and quite honestly across the state and the nation. That doesn't really change with geography, but we've got a ton of drugs coming through, and that's the main thing. Most of Paul, when I started, every year it would bump from 5,000 to 5,500 felony warrants a year in Horry County, and that trend remained pretty current until maybe 2015, 2014, somewhere in there, where it started to tick up. Now this year we will have, we'll probably surpass 9,000 felony warrants in Horry County. Wow. It's not even counting Georgetown. So we've had a dramatic increase in arrest. I would say a dramatic increase in...
Well, why would that be? Why would that be? Why is that such a drastic jump? What is it attributed to?
One thing is anytime you hire more law enforcement officers, if you hire 10% more law enforcement officers, you're going to have a 10% increase in the arrests that they make. So that's pretty easy. But another thing that is really...
So that means drugs were going on in this county very strongly until we got more police, and then you curtailed it somewhat by increasing the arrests. Is that how it works?
We've had a lot...
We didn't know about these drugs would be running around the county and more people would be addicted to them. Is that right?
We've had a lot more arrests, naturally, by having more police.
Right. What
has changed in the last 2 years, 3 years, is the drug of choice was always crack or cocaine. There is very little crack or cocaine left. It has all been supplanted by heroin, which is has a different effect on the body and has a different effect on the mind. And
is it like a psychedelic effect? Would you say?
It is a much more addictive drug, if you can believe it, than even crack or cocaine was. Wow. So people that do crack or do cocaine could binge and maybe be off of it 2 or 3 days or maybe 2 or 3 weeks. You can't do that with heroin or opioids. It is an everyday drug. So that's sort of what's happening with heroin. It's used a lot more than crack or cocaine was. Certainly that means there's a lot more deals that are going on, a lot more selling, a lot more buying. And the biggest part of that is it's a different drug.
Let me ask you, how much of this is attributable to beginning prescriptions for painkillers?
I would say we always blame the cartels, and we always blame, that is where it comes from, Mexico. But Paul, the United States, our population makes up about 5% of the world's population. Yet we use 99% of the world's opioids. We use 99% of the hydrocodone, the OxyContin, the oxycodone. So we are a nation that is severely overprescribed. And unless there's pains that are just in America and nobody in Mongolia or China or Peru know about, we've got a addictive personality, and we are an addictive generation.
Well, an addictive population, you're right. I mean, my wife died of cancer, and I know the 2 years that she was undergoing treatment and what have you. I know my wife died of cancer, and in the 2 years that she was undergoing treatment, I knew that if we did beat this, and unfortunately she was stage 4 when she was diagnosed, so there was little chance of beating it. But if we did beat it, we were going to have another problem, because the oxycodone and the OxyContin was, and later on towards the end, the morphine itself that was prescribed was leading us only in one direction. You know,
Paul, it is a wonderful drug. The OxyContin, oxycodone. Now those have been here for a long time, and for a person in chronic pain, such as cancer, and that's where fentanyl comes in. We've all heard of people overdosing lately on fentanyl, but forever, if a person was in the last stages of cancer, they would get a fentanyl patch. And you and I can see where, if it's a pain blocker, that's exactly what they should have. It is comforting in the last few days, months of your life. If you are using that to get high off of, it was never intended for that sort of purpose. And that's where a lot of people are dying and overdosing on this fentanyl and carfentanil and heroin. It's because it was never meant to be used in the way that we are using it.
But there's so many innovative ways that the youngsters today are getting high, maybe from glue, sniffing, all kinds of over-the-counter drugs that you get for free. It's just an awesome way that the kids are thinking of how to get high. And you wonder why they want to get high. What are they escaping? What are they running away from?
John, let's be fair a minute now.
There's so many things that they can be doing, but yet they're always looking for an avenue
but let's be fair.
Disturb their minds. Go ahead, Paul. What'd you say?
You and I are roughly the same
I don't
generation.
know, but I'm still in this generation. I'm
know
not going
what
to
you're
say
saying.
Because I'm an old fart that
No.
don't know what's going on.
That's
not
not
the
where
way
I'm
it is.
going, brother.
Look, I have a commitment, so long as I'm on this earth, to help others, to be a good Samaritan, to reach out and bring them in. There are reasons that they're doing this. We want to find out what the root cause is.
But that's not where I'm going.
Well,
you and I are of an age.
I'm just going to make my point.
And you grew, but let me make this one here. When you grew up in New York City, I grew up in North Jersey, not far from New York City. At our age, back in the 50s or even the 40s, we were underage alcohol drinkers. I did it. I know I did it.
Well, that's okay. I'm not. I don't imbibe like that. But however, I may have grown up in New York State, in Brooklyn, and what have you. But I've traveled. I've been in the wars of the Korean War. I've met societies. I was on radio. I did these types of shows, informative shows, in Japan. I was on DZMB and DZRH in the Philippines. I can go on. And we didn't have these problems at that point in time. At those countries, we may have had them in the United States, but there must be a reason why we're doing it here in the United States. I know your office, solicitor. I mean, we want to get more information from you. Nobody knows that your office prosecuted El Chapo's brother. Is that correct? Didn't they do that?
Yeah.
I mean, who knew about that?
It's a lot of. About 10 years ago in Mexico, very smart drug lords decided, they saw the difference, saw that Americans were being overprescribed, and made it so that if you were buying from the dealer in Mexico, you had to buy an exact amount of heroin if you were going to buy their pristine cocaine. Before, it was just buy the cocaine. But they basically did a bait and switch at the same time, and they created the heroin problem. I say created it. They already knew that we were being overprescribed. They built in on that and pumped in a lot more heroin because, as I said earlier, if you are addicted to cocaine, you might go 3 or 4 days. You might go 3 or 4 weeks without using cocaine. You're not going to go 3 or 4 days without using heroin. You're going to do it every day, or you're going to be really, really sick. It's a different kind of high, but it's also a different kind of withdrawal from the high.
I know you personally go to the high schools within your district.
Don't you have a program?
Yeah. But it incorporates just what you guys were arguing about. What's happened is for the price of a copay, maybe $6, you get a whole prescription, maybe 100 pills of opiates. And here's a misconception. Heroin is an opiate just like Oxycontin is an opiate. They are cousins. So doctors give us a ton of Oxycontin, and we take it home as parents and grandparents, maybe use 1 or 2 because of a toothache or a broken ankle or whatever, and then we leave the other 30 up in our medicine cabinet. Out of our drug court graduates, over 80% of them told us their first taste of drugs come from mom and dad or grandparents' medicine cabinet. And kids are having these pill parties where they basically clean out mom and dad's and come and you just grab a pill, you don't know what you're taking.
Don't even know what they're taking, right?
That's right.
But my initiative through the schools is to say, mom, dad, grandparents, take those drugs. You can get another prescription for $6 when you need it again. Take those drugs, take them to numerous drop boxes that the police have. Drop off, you can dump them out of the package. Nobody's looking to arrest anybody. We just want to dry up that supply from the medicine cabinets, put them in a safe place, because they will get stolen. They will get stolen. Either somebody's going to break into your house to steal them, or somebody that's already in your house is going to take them and go to one of these pill parties. So take that incentive away, dump them at the police station, and at the same time that dries up supply from the bottom. And it's really going to take a change of culture. And we have been going into schools not only with the video that we've just shot, Clean Out Your Medicine Cabinet, but also through Project LEAD, and that's targeted at 5th graders, to have 5th graders making better decisions about gangs, about budgets, about staying in school or truancy. It's a 20-week program. So we're trying to change the mindsets of kids to where drugs aren't cool, and think before you get yourself in a bad spot. And at the same time, the drug traffickers that are coming in, like you said, El Chapo's nephew, those guys, you can't cut on the news without us just killing the drug traffickers. So far this year, like in 2 months, we dosed out well over 120, 130 years in prison times by just a few drug traffickers. So these people are saying they're getting a slap on the wrist. If you're trafficking drugs, you're getting tons of time. I mean, decades.
Well, former President Obama released a lot of them. In his last few years in office, he just released a lot of those drug dealers. And
I don't think he released the drug dealers, it was the users.
Users as well. I mean, solicitor, I'm sure there's other drugs are coming on the market now, or the kids are not on the market, that they're obtaining illegally. What are beside the heroin, what other drugs are there out there in the community? And also, because we have such a short time, we want to also discuss with you not only drugs, but also some of the youth gangs that are here. Mm-hmm. And why is there an increase in the shooting and crimes here, mm-hmm. Especially in Myrtle Beach,
all right.
In recent days?
I told you we're going to top 9,000 warrants this year.
Right.
You can break that 9,000 into 3 categories. That parts remain the same. That is drugs, 3,000, petty crimes, 3,000, and violent crimes, burglaries, murders, that's going to be about 3,000. So violent crime, nonviolent crime, drugs. All of the drugs basically now that we're getting arrested or getting through our office is heroin or opiates. But basically, I might be a little high in this, but I would say 80% of the property crime is related to the drugs. So you do away with just the heroin and the pills. You get rid of the 3,000 cases that are drugs. You get rid of 2,400 cases that are property crimes, breaking into someone's car to feed a drug addiction. And what you were talking about with the gangs, the local youth gangs, that's
well, before we go into that, I see we have a signal here. We have to take a break. Paul, tell us, put us into the break, Paul.
I thought you just did, John. We'll be back in a minute to talk more with the solicitor.
Doing that. You have such a romantic voice. Now listen to these messages. Here they are.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you say romantic voice?
Blueberry's Grill is serving up fresh breakfast and lunch daily with locally sourced ingredients. Give your taste buds a treat with our unique twists on your favorite classic foods, like our daily specials or our appetizing omelets, biscuits and gravy with fresh sausage, or our unique sandwiches and burgers. Tour the kitchen where the passion and creativity begins and discover the secret of the delicious ingredients and flawless preparation. Blueberry's Grill, located at 7931 North Kings Highway. Come as a stranger, leave as a friend.
Welcome back. We cut the solicitor off halfway through a discussion about gangs in Horry and Georgetown counties. Let's go back to that and give us a little bit more information.
Yeah, as I said, about a third of our cases are violent crimes, armed robberies, murders, rapes. Of course, very little of the drugs has anything to do with rapes, but about 40% of the violent crimes you can attribute back to drugs. And a big part of that 40% is the little street gangs that we have. Usually kids between the age of, now kids get recruited as early as 13 and 14, but usually the people that we're seeing is between the ages of 18 and 25. And usually it's very loosely affiliated gangs with our very poor structure. We got the Bloods, we got the Crips, we got the Gangster Disciples, we got,
Salvadorians.
Yeah, some of the Mexican gangs. But it's not like you would see in Compton or New York. They don't answer to a lot of people. It's the 14th Street Boys or the fighters on 15th Street. Little petty gangs that may have 4 or 5 or 10 members. But those little fighting back and forth over turf wars about who can sell drugs where, or who got fronted some drugs and didn't get paid for them.
Also prostitution, isn't that one of the...
Prostitution is...
you can't go on my street, I can't go on yours, and they argue where the prostitute can go and who controls the prostitute and things of that nature.
So that's a lot of your shootings. It's not just random stuff as it may seem. It is somebody usually owes somebody for drugs, and they were fronted the drugs and they didn't pay for them. That's a lot of the violent gangs. I would say on a brighter note on that, believe it or not, Horry and Georgetown County is a very safe place. That may not seem as such, but there are certain places in New Jersey that you wouldn't go. Certain streets you wouldn't go down. There's certain places in Brooklyn.
There's certain cities I wouldn't go.
Yeah, but it's, if you get off on one of those streets, it's a lot more dangerous than if you are in other parts.
Sure.
You know.
I've heard those horror stories in the past. But you do something very novel. Tell us about the forfeiture of property, forfeiture of goods from drug dealers and so forth. This is a bit hot topic. The Libertarians are on one side, the Democrats are on the other side, and poor you. You're trying to do the best thing to solve the crimes, and you need the money, and oftentimes you don't get it, but here's a good source to get the monies. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
You're both. I want to start off. No. I want to start off by saying that even though we are entitled to it, I have made the decision not to take any of the money from forfeitures.
Is that where I'm wrong? Is that where I'm
That's
wrong?
the only place you're wrong. And it's just technically, the part that would generally go to us goes to the police. I want the police to have everything, and I want the drug dealer to have nothing. We try to take the car, we try to take the home, we try to take the bank account. we try to take anything that is associated with the selling of drugs.
But you're taking the property that was obtained illegally, that's all.
But
so what's so bad about that?
Well,
if a person is getting illegal income, and you're saying, hey, look, that's illegally, we're going to take that from you.
Here's the devil's advocate part of it.
Okay, let's hear that one. I'm interested in that one.
And it's a fair argument, but as in most things, it's tied up in misnomers. The other side of it is you do not use the criminal standard to take those things, and we don't. We use a civil standard. Instead of beyond a reasonable doubt, we take people's property based on a preponderance of the evidence that would be used in civil court. So the other side would be, we're not telling you not to take it, but convict them first.
That's what I'm saying. If they're convicted, you should have a good leeway in taking it.
Yeah, but we take it before they're convicted. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's where the gray area is.
Yes, yes.
If they're not convicted, then what do? You have to give it back, and then you have to give it back with interest.
No.
If they're not convicted, you're taking it before they're convicted.
Yes.
They're in trial.
Yes.
Okay, you don't know if they're going to be found guilty. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, but you already have their property.
We get a different.
You keep it in
yeah, we keep it.
And they keep it, even if the person's found innocent, even if the charges are dropped, and that's where you get into the controversy about it all. I mean, it's like saying he arrests you, or not he personally. The police arrest me on a suspicion of dealing drugs, and immediately seize my car and my home and what have you, and keep it.
Well, he doesn't do that.
You know, he does.
Well,
that's what he's saying.
Yes.
Yeah, but he just told you that he's very cautious about that.
Yeah.
So there should be mitigating circumstances where he'll do it, but he doesn't do it outright. Well, and that's what makes him so much fairer than others.
That's the rub.
Thus enters the commercial for Solicitor Richardson.
No, that's the rub. But it comes up all the time. The police usually make the decision whether or not to seize the money or not to seize the money. And then it comes before me, and I try to figure out, how much do you have? Do I believe that this money, all of this stuff came from proceeds of illegal drug sales? And at that point, I make the decision either to give it back, say, I don't like this isn't enough, or if I believe we've got enough, we take it in front of the judge. We are very cautious about it.
So you pontificate then, right?
Yes.
You're a pontificator.
And,
which
and
is fair. I mean, why would anybody go against that? He's being
well,
fair.
because there's a little provision called the Fifth Amendment against illegal search and seizure.
However, he's working within the Fifth Amendment. He's
Yeah,
working,
we-
and he,
Well,
it's law
the
enforcement,
Supreme Court has, I think, allowed that.
Yes.
Am I not right?
They
Although
have.
I question the Supreme Court understanding of illegal search and seizure. I'll be honest with you,
Okay,
John.
but then you can change the law. That's what it's all about. And then he has an opportunity to argue against that law if he feels. Oh, anyway, it's your show.
Well,
I should be.
But I can address it.
Yeah,
this
please,
way.
please.
Of the stuff that once I make that decision and decide to go down the civil route to actually seize it, over 9 out of 10 times we win. And that is because we're being very cautious about it. We don't bring close cases. We bring only cases that I am assured that came from the sale of drugs. But we not always, but we usually win those cases. And the ones that we have won, we've had one overturned at an appeal. And that was one of the spots that we kind of got into a deal where we had seized a RV that was used for the sale of drugs. At some point in the future, the Supreme Court overturned the criminal conviction and the civil conviction, and now we had to go back and purchase another RV to give back to them. You know what I'm saying? So we are cautious about it, but and again, it ain't so that we get the money or the solicitor's office, but the police get 75% of everything seized. The state gets 20%, and some other organization gets 5%.
Even if the state has nothing to do with the arrest or the seizures or the stakeouts or anything.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
That's the poll tax. But we send it. We're very judicious about it. But on my side, and I gave you the other side. On my side, a lot of these drug traffickers don't worry so much that their guy has gone for a 12 or 13-year prison sentence. But what they get very upset about is that I've just taken this money. I've just taken this car. I've just taken all of the assets that they have earned, and what we would say is through the sale of drugs. They don't like that at all.
Well, we just talked about forfeitures. We do have to take a break, and then we'll be back with the solicitor to talk about some final issues. All right, we're back with Solicitor Richardson. We talked about drugs, and we've talked about gangs, and we've talked about the crime rate. I'm interested in something. Federal money. Are we getting the types of grants that we used to get, or has that backed off? How and it's not the kind of thing that you count on from year to year. Is that right?
No, we've gotten some federal money for things like drug court. They've given us no. I've told you wrong, Paul. We purposefully didn't ask for federal money. Federal money, especially with drug court, comes with so many strings attached. A lot of times we stay away from it. But for victim advocates, we've gotten some federal money for victim services. It is not what it once was. There's not a lot of federal money out there. There's some more state money, and that keeps sort of changing with the wind both ways. Sometimes, they are focusing on victim services. Sometimes they're focusing on, consumer affairs type stuff. But as that changes, there's some grants. But the deal with, I brought it up, but the deal with no federal money for drug court is I am a true believer that I don't want you to trade this drug for another drug. So the federal money comes with it strings attached saying you must allow people to come into your program and take Suboxone or some other sort of sister drug to heroin. So,
is that one of those kind of things that supposedly takes care of the symptoms but doesn't give the high? Is that the idea?
Methadone.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of methadone. Well, then it's fair to say, basically, that the solicitor's office, and generally I would think law enforcement in Horry County, is basically supported locally, and we got to remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about a crisis center? Do you have a crisis center? Do you have anybody manning a crisis center, and what do they do, and how they operate, and how can people contact them if they have a crisis? Do you have that, and you want to give us the number if people are interested in calling, or because they have a problem, whatever it may be?
Of course, there are rape crisis centers. I don't have the number, but the police would. There are domestic violence crisis centers, and the police give those out too. When you're the victim of such a crime, they are given these laminated cards with all of and they try to direct the victim in the proper avenue. But they're out there. Of course, one of the things that you and I have been involved with is trying to pre-plan to make sure if there was ever a situation like occurred in Charleston or Ferguson, to go out and get community members together. I hope and pray, but everybody hopes and prays that never happens. But John has been on several meetings trying to get ahead of if something were to happen, where's the phone tree that we go through and get all of the participating partners on board. So this is a very proactive area. We are blessed with some great police chiefs, a great sheriff in Horry and Georgetown, just wonderful people. And I think that, plus the grace of God, is why we have been able to avoid any real blow-ups nationally.
But before we hang it up today, I just want the people out there to know that our solicitor here in the 15th Judicial District started 2 years ago a Grand Strand Community Law Enforcement Appreciation. And that is connecting the cops, the kids in the community. And they're going out there to get a better understanding between the three groups. And today, New York City, under their Commissioner O'Neill, is doing the very same thing. Chicago is beginning to do the same thing, as well as Detroit. So what we started here is
Major cities are copying Horry County.
they're talking about neighborhood policing, neighborhood getting together, the meeting, exactly what we're saying here, connecting cops. And my hat personally is off to the solicitor, who was the instrument behind this to get this going. You know, it's a difficult thing. It's hard.
It's a very
because
difficult
you're going out
thing.
there and they say, well, the cops, we don't like the cops. And the reason for that is because their parents, whatever it may be, say, if you don't be good, Johnny, I'm going to tell the police. That's not what we want to educate them to do. So I want to say here today on this camera that I want to thank you, Solicitor Richardson, for being innovative in these programs for the community and getting us a better education and better outreach. And personally,
and me too. And you do have picnics or something that you guys do, don't you? I mean, that's one of the things that you do.
But he doesn't just.
You can't police your way or arrest your way or convict your way out of a problem. You got to hit a problem at its roots, and that's what you're trying to do.
We are, and what I've always said is we've got really good people, and because of that, we got really good law enforcement officers. There's bumps in the road, but look, hey, I'll guarantee you, if you had FedEx or UPS or some other organization with 200-300 employees or 2,000 or 3,000, you're gonna have some that are getting into something that they shouldn't. But the overall thing is that these 99% of them are trying to do what's right, and they're good people, and all we're trying to do is advertise that to the streets that may have gotten some bad information. But the ones that interact with them, for the most part, they come away saying I was treated fairly. Nobody, it wasn't anything that they may not say I deserved what I got, but as long as we treat people with respect, we're not here to make everybody happy. But
I did laugh a little bit, and I take your point. Any organization, I don't care what it is, has good apples and bad apples and superior ones and a lot of average ones, and that's the way it works. My problem with the police department, why I laughed when you said about you hit some bumps in the road, and I was thinking specifically one police department, the detectives in it lately, they, at UPS or FedEx or Ford or whatever, they don't take an oath.
right.
Now, I served in the military, John served in the military. We took an oath. I took that oath seriously. And I require the same thing of those that are going to take an oath and serve me in a public service. I'm sorry, but that's just the way I am.
And Paul, you're exactly right. And I'll promise you, they will be punished for it. They will. We really work with the police, enforcement appreciation, and everything else. They're the ones I call when my burglar alarm goes off. So I depend on them not only in this job, but I depend on them to defend me against anarchy.
When your house is on fire, your neighbors come rushing to your help as well. The point, what we're making here, is that the community plays a vital part, and you have to communicate with the community. You can't always say law enforcement. You have to also, in the equation, mention what we're doing outreach for the community, letting you know that we have a safety valve. We're protecting you, and that's actually what their duty is, for the security, protection of not only a person and
you know
property.
me, I've been a strong advocate of getting the community together and what have you.
I have a bumper sticker that says, support your police. They do such a great job. Not all of them, naturally, and that's why he's presently reviewing some cases that are under investigation, or some that have gone to trial, and they happen to be police officers. If they're rogue police officers, his office will get after them. I'm positive about that, because you can't find, in my opinion, now I'm talking about John Bonsignor, in my opinion, you can't. I've dealt with a lot of police, I've dealt with a lot of district attorneys, a lot of solicitors. I've dealt with Embry last year, but I tell you here, standing here today, that this man is one of the finest persons. You call him, he gets on the phone. He doesn't try to shirk his responsibility. You give him a problem, he checks it out, he looks into it. And he has so much on his plate, and how he does it is beyond me. I'm giving him a good testimonial because I believe in what he's doing and how he's helping me as a citizen of this county. So I just wanted to leave on that note as you close the program.
Well, I'm going to give him a chance to have his final say.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you one thing. Included in that,
Okay, Paul's going to...
what drives you to be the solicitor, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know what? I love this county. I love Georgetown. I love this area. I grew up here, a farm between Aner and Conway. I've got a 13-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I really enjoy people. And even as a defense attorney, there's very little you can do to help people on both sides. You get to actually determine what is a better sentence for this person. And I don't want everybody in jail. I want everybody to act right, you know.
Uh-huh.
So that is the one place that you can really affect all of the different lives. Good guys, people that are presently bad guys, that you want to be good guys. And then, honestly, Paul, there are some people that you can look and you can tell by their record, by their actions, this guy is never going to get right. He is going to be a torment to society. And this is the one spot that you can fix all of that. Now, I make mistakes. I've made mistakes today.
You make a lot of mistakes, especially when you don't show Josh, your son, how to watch that curveball.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh is learning.
The 13-year-old's got a problem with a curveball, but
He's not alone.
but other than that, he
He's a
does
sweet
a good
kid.
job.
Josh is a good kid.
And I really do. I know it sounds trite, but honest, if God knows my heart, I love the people of this area. I want what's best for the area. And, you know, if mistakes come, you know, it was done with a good heart either way. And there's a lot of people that have got a good heart but don't have the opportunity that being the solicitor provides you with, you know. So it's the perfect job for me, and just love doing it.
This is John Bonsignor saying thank you very much for listening. See you next time. That's it.
Blueberry's Grill is serving up fresh breakfast and lunch daily with locally sourced ingredients. Give your taste buds a treat with our unique twists on your favorite classic foods, like our daily specials or our appetizing omelets, biscuits and gravy with fresh sausage, or our unique sandwiches and burgers. Tour the kitchen where the passion and creativity begins and discover the secret of the delicious ingredients and flawless preparation. Blueberry's Grill, located at 7931 North Kings Highway. Come as a stranger, leave as a friend.
Again, I just want to thank y'all for having me on the show. Hope it's a big success, because I know it is important topics, and to get community leaders and people that to get a discussion back and forth, you know, tell us what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right. I don't think you could have a better platform for it than local television. And so thank you for making me a part of it. I hope you'll have me back in the future. And I always like getting together with Paul and John, and just, you know, a very interesting set of topics. But thank you guys again for having me out.